next question. I'm naturally introverted, and I feel like I lack charisma that I see successful salespeople have. Everybody is just tells me to fake it till you make it, or just be more confident. But that feels inauthentic and exhausting. Is charisma actually necessary for sales success, or is this just a mind trap that's preventing me from moving forward?
You know, it's really interesting on this. That's an interesting question, because after 30 years of coming across countless salespeople and training them and so forth, and I think we've kind of broached on this before, some people have just natural talent, right? Their aura, their way, their charisma helps close deals. It's just part of them. It looks effortless when you watch them do it. And then I've had salespeople that have been very successful in their own right, but they're really good technically, right? Because when you communicate with someone through the sales process, there's a certain way of speaking to them, like, how do you handle an objection? Number one is you acknowledge the objection by paraphrasing the objection. Then you answer and overcome the objection. So there's real technical things that you can be good at. You don't have to be you don't have to be the life of the party or real super savvy. But what happens as you get more comfortable doing it, and you technically get really good at sales, that personality does start to grow a little bit. Because we've always said, like, if your comfort zone is this and I do something here, now my comfort zone is this, right? So you have to increase your comfort zone. You can't do something from here way out here. Otherwise, it's too far. You just got to gradually, and you have to be conscious of this. And I need to work on getting, because it depends on what you're selling too. If you're selling something very technical, very linear, or you're dealing with someone who's very technical and linear, that works better. If you're dealing with more of an artist or someone that's gregarious, that doesn't work as well. And the greatest salespeople can mirror image whomever they're talking to. The greatest salespeople can you can talk to a janitor today, and tomorrow you might be talking with a brain surgeon, and you're able to relate and get to the objective. But if it's a hard road to go if you don't like talking to people. It's very hard to be a good salesperson. It's just what it is. So I guess what I would do in that situation is work on your technical aspects of the sales process, get those mastered first, and then you can work on adding some personality, or don't be in sales. I mean, it's hard to not like people and be a good salesperson. It just doesn't. And I'm not saying they said don't like people, but they struggle, talking with people. Yeah, it's much easier to be exciting, fun, get people wrapped up in the process with you is how I've had most of my successes anyway.
Yeah, I would say too, like you hit on some, I was making notes when you said this. You said they feel introverted. Do I have to be charismatic, or is charisma needed? Uh, and Chuck said work on the technical parts, and he's right. If you're not you don't have to be the life of the party. But I would say is what you're talking about interesting. So if you're selling something, it's really, if it's not interesting to talk about, it's going to be hard to sell.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if it's interesting to you, regardless of how charismatic you are, you're going to find the conversation interesting, right? And two, you have to have some sort of ability to communicate. And the best way to communicate, and I think this ties back to what Chuck was saying, the technical aspects. I would say if you step back and go, okay, just hold on, that what's really involved here that I need to do. One, I do need to be interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's and with that, then if because they're going to sense if you're interested or not. And I think you need to be, well, I know you do. You need to be interested in this other person and what they get out of it too. And so what you can do, like one of the things we do, is instead of you having to come up with instead of you doing a presentation or having to figure out what to say, we have this thing. It's called the about them piece, where we just have this whole list of questions that you can put into your own conversation. Hey, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And if you do that in a if you practice, like, okay, I'm interested in, you don't have to be charismatic. You just have to sound interested, right? And if you truly are, that is a big deal. Hey, how'd you get into this business? What about this? What about that? And then you can work your way through the conversation with these questions that are already not scripted out, but listed out. And if you can put them in a way that's conversational, then and then like Chuck said, that you work on it. One of the things that we've seen most people never do, that the really good people do, like the people that are far and away way better, become way better than anybody else, as they record themselves. So if you're going to do video, record video of yourself having these conversations, and then you play it back and you go, wow, you can see where you need to uh, adjust, where you need to go, oh, I need to do that a little bit differently, and so you'll get good, but you'll get much better, and you'll get much better faster because you see and hear what you look and sound like to everybody else. So I think you got to be interested in what you're talking about, and have a not a script, but an outline,
Outline.
and then record yourself, and you'll get better. You'll look good, and you don't have to be the life of the party. You can be charismatic, and then as you're doing it in real life, just reflect. Well, how'd that go? What did I do? Did it go well? Did it not go well? But so interested, have an outline that and record it, and then just reflect. How'd that go? Because that's when you learn. Is when you reflect how to go. Okay. And then you don't have to be charismatic and all that. I'd do those things, and I think most people would end up becoming really good at whatever they're doing.
I've got another similar question that came in. I struggle with call reluctance, and I know I should be making more calls, but I keep on putting it off. Um, I feel like I feel guilty when I don't hit targets, which just makes my reluctance worse. Everyone focuses on doing more calls, but you talk about working smarter, not harder. Is this a volume problem or mindset, or is there a systematic approach that helps eliminate the need to force through so much rejection?
Are you working at the zoo today?
Yeah, right. You got some critters getting out of the cages down there.
I hope that door has a lock on it, because and it's like a steel door. Like when a zookeeper has tigers in the background, you don't want
Right.
to use, like, you don't want a wooden door between you and them. You
Right.
want a
Yeah,
steel door.
steel door.
I,
Yeah.
I was I was yesterday. I was winding down, right, and something, I'll watch something, and I found a Jackass episode where I forget the guy's name, but they had him strapped they had him strapped to a chair, and in this room, and Johnny Knoxville was giving him a lie detector test, and every time it looked like he was lying, they shocked him. So, and even when, they just shocked him just for fun, but then after they did this little bit, he just thought it was a lie detector test, and he was going to get shocked if he lied. Well, it wasn't. What it was really was, behind a steel door was a bear, and so Johnny Knoxville came over and poured honey all over him, and threw salmon on him, on his legs and whatnot, and then left. And they opened the door, and the bear came out and was eating the stuff off of him, and he was screaming, and they were shocking him. Anyway.
I think they're lucky that no one died in all those
Yeah.
videos they made.
What?
They're
Oh, no
lucky no one
kidding.
died. Some of the things they did
Yeah.
was like, holy Jesus, you know?
Call reluctance, and you feel guilty when not making calls. Well, probably because they're horrible calls. You don't enjoy it, right? So, one time, long time ago, when I was in college, I was looking for something that I could do at night, because I had school during the day and I needed the money. And so, so I got a job working at Finger Hut as a telemarketer, because I can sell stuff. And so I went through all the training, and then the first night, my job was to call. I called from Minnesota, I would call, it was New Mexico and Arizona. And so back then, too, long distance calls were expensive. And so my script said something to the effect of, hey, this is John Elias from Finger Hut. I'm calling long distance, or this is John Elias, I'm calling long distance from Finger Hut. And of course, they, long distance, I better stand up and pay attention. And these are previous buyers of Finger Hut stuff. And I said, hey, we've got did you get the new catalog? We've got this special going on. And it was a 72-piece kitchen ensemble and featuring Jelly Bear, Daisy Duck, or Wildflower. What goes better with, what do you think would go better with your kitchen, Mrs. Gonzalez? And it's like, I was so embarrassed having to use those words. I hated it. I you know, I it really I'm calling saying Jelly Bear, Daisy Duck, and Wildflower
Yeah.
repeatedly in this little cube with these bright lights, and I've got the Nazi walking by, making sure I'm doing my calls, and I'm going, I hate this. Talk about call reluctance. And you couldn't not call because once you hit, yes, no, move on, whatever, bring, it's ringing again. And somebody answers, maybe they speak English, maybe they don't. And you're talking Jelly Bear, Daisy Duck, and Wildflower. I knew that this is, I didn't go back after that night. It's like, look, don't even pay me, keep my money. I don't, this is, so I would have, we've answered the question before. This was something to the, um, do I have to be charismatic? No, but you need to have some interest or enjoyment in what you're selling. I know you have to. If you're not interested in it, and you don't care about it, you don't like it, you're probably going to have call reluctance. And I don't know if it's, working smarter than harder. That was one of the things you said, right? People tell me I need to work smarter than harder. Well, everybody says that, but what does that actually mean? Smarter than harder. So I would say smarter than harder. You go, okay, well, okay. It's not necessarily I'm not going to be smarter, but how can I work? How can I work in a way that makes sense? And one, if you have call reluctance, like one of the things that, even if you are interested in it, doing cold calls also is no fun. So so how can you do this? How can you set this up? So let's step back and go, okay, just these are common questions that people ask about doing common jobs, common things, right? They've got a job. We look at things a little bit differently because we look at our work as something that sets us free. So if we're going to look at it as something that sets us free, what does freedom mean to me? What does my lifestyle look like? How do I feel about it? What's the feeling of this life, and what do I get to live? And I go, okay, how do I set up, what kind of work am I doing, and how do I set it up to support that, fund it? And so when we asked that to ourselves long ago, and we found ourselves cold calling and hating cold calling, because when you cold call, really 90% of everybody that you talk to wants you to hang up and then go die in a fiery car accident. So that's not a good feeling. So we thought, okay, how can you get more people calling me? How can I set this up so the calls that I call outbound are to a little different audience who might be able to refer people to me so that buyers call me? So we changed our target up. So we adapted, we modified how our business operates to fit how we wanted to live life and work. So I don't think, smarter. It's like it's like working smarter, not harder. I think there's a different way to look at it. It's like, let's put that aside. What is it that I want to, what's the life I want to live? And what do I do in work uh, to set it up so that I can experience that sort of life in life and work. I don't want to burn out. I don't enjoy what I do. I want it to be a challenge, but I want to be able to overcome it, turn the page, and work on the next challenge. I want to get better, and I want to do other things rather than just burn out on these calls that I don't like. So, what is it that ultimately I want in life, and and then how do I set up my business, my work, the things that I do that provide that? And one of the things we found was, don't call people who are buyers, call people who can refer to you, and and get them to send you business that people call up and go, hey, do you have by chance, do you have a 72-piece kitchen ensemble? With the Jelly Bear, Daisy Duck, or Wildflower? I go, yeah, I do. I can get one of those right out to you. Chuck, you have just something smarter to add to
No,
that?
I mean, that's spot on. I mean, in making the calls to the recommenders it's a softer call. It's not as hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easier to, I mean, I get it. You know, if every time I pick up the phone, I know I'm going to get my ass handed to me basically, you know, that I'd be, anybody in their right mind, unless you're a masochist, would be somewhat reluctant to that, or you got super,
Yeah.
super thick skin. I just don't like to hear all that all day long. So I like to call on people that can recommend or refer people to me because it's softer, it's easier than when I am talking to a buyer. None of that happens because the trust is there because it's a referral. Yeah, I would change who you're calling. I think that's the biggest one, and make it a game. You know, go, okay, if I know that I close 1 out of 50 phone calls, how quickly do I want to get those 50 phone calls in? You know, and just track it and go, okay. Because I think you can do a lot of things in life if you know the end is near, right? Like if I knew that I had to go dig ditches all day long for the rest of my life, I'd be hating myself right now. But if I have to go dig a ditch this weekend, I go, well, okay, I do it for the weekend, it's over. You know, so you have to mentally prepare yourself, but quit calling the wrong people, you know. But if I'm calling for Finger Hut, I don't have a choice. Because there's
Yeah.
different levels of sales going on here. Like the person that wants to go work at Finger Hut, or, you know, I had a stint where I worked at MCI back in the day and I had to call whomever they told me to call. I didn't have a choice. That's a different level of, those people aren't necessarily thinking freedom mindedly.
Yeah.
But it's a stepping stone to graduate to something where you can get free, if that makes sense. So you got to gut it out. Just got to gut it out and you got to be looking for something else that can get you free. I would recommend for anyone in life, don't sign up for things that can't help you get free. Sign up for things that you can create. But this is what everybody does backwards. They go, I'm going to go get a job and then I'm going to design my life around this job. No, let's kind of have a design of our life first, and let's find something that can give me that.